In this quick video, I'm going to show you how to deal with Moorcroft Debt Recovery. We'll cover 5 most frequently asked questions on Google, such as how to reduce your repayment amounts, how to stop Moorcroft from contacting you, what happens if you ignore them, and what Moorcroft Debt Recovery are not allowed to do when collecting your debt. At the end of this video, I have a bonus tip on how to write off some of your debt, so stick around to the end. By the way, my name's Scott Nelson. I worked my whole career in the loans and credit card industry, and I'm happy to say that I've been able to use my insider knowledge to help thousands of people out of debt. So now that we've got the introductions out of the way, let's get onto the questions. So question number 1, are Moorcroft Debt Recovery legitimate? Well, if you've received a letter in the post, this is probably your first question that you'll have, especially if you don't recognise the company name. Well, I've done some research and I can confirm that Moorcroft Debt Recovery are a UK registered company. Whilst there are some scams out there when it comes to debt collectors, I'm afraid that this is unlikely to be a scam. However, you should never pay unless you are certain the debt is yours or unless you've been provided proof that the debt is yours. Question number 2. What happens if you ignore Moorcroft Debt Recovery? Well, if you ignore debt collectors, your problem could escalate and become very serious. Like everything regarding debt, it's better to deal with the situation early before it gets out of control. Moorcroft Debt Recovery does have the right to take court action against you. If you were to ignore court letters, then you could end up with a county court judgment, or CCJ, which could have a major impact on your credit score or your chances of borrowing money in the future. If you do get a CCJ and you still don't pay, then you could ultimately result in bailiffs coming to your home to take your valuable items or even your car. So please don't ignore them, and we'll get to what you should do later in this video. Question number 3 is what Moorcroft can't do. Despite being appointed to collect your debt, there are several things that Moorcroft Debt Recovery cannot do when it comes to collecting debts. Knowing that Moorcroft must uphold standards set out by the regulatory guidelines will make you feel a lot more confident when dealing with them. So here's the things that they're legally not allowed to do. They're not allowed to visit your place of work. They can't speak to colleagues, neighbours, friends or family in an effort to embarrass you and force you to pay back that debt. They can't contact you or visit your place of home at unreasonable times of the day. They're not allowed to act in a threatening or intimidating way. And they can't pretend to be bailiffs or enforcement agents. So they can't force their way into your house or refuse to leave if you ask them to. And they're certainly not allowed to take any of your belongings or clamp your car. Okay, so question number 4, how to complain about Moorcroft Debt Recovery. Well, if you feel as though Moorcroft didn't follow any of these rules or they're not justified in collecting the debt, then you have every right to complain. Firstly, you should complain direct to Moorcroft, detailing what they've done and how they've breached the regulations. Try to include times and dates of contact along with any other evidence that might help. And if you're unsatisfied with their response or the issue has not been resolved, then you can escalate that to the Ombudsman service and ask them to step in and get it resolved. Okay, last question. Then I have a bonus tip on how to potentially write off some of your debt. So question number 5, how do I pay less and come to an agreement with Moorcroft Debt Recovery? Well, there are a number of ways you might be able to reduce the amount you pay. If you're struggling to meet the repayment amounts, there's 3 best options, which are either to contact Moorcroft to freeze interest and charges whilst you set up a budget and get your finances back under control. You could also negotiate reduced payments. For this, you'll need to show why you can't afford that higher repayment. So use a budget template to write down your income and your essential living costs. Or if you have enough money to pay back some or all of the debt, You could make a full and final settlement offer. This is where you offer to pay back a lump sum, which might be less than the total amount that you requested. And as promised, here's my bonus tip on how you might be able to write off some of your debt. There are a number of debt solutions out there which can significantly reduce the amounts or even write off some of your debt. I've identified 7 solutions that are available to UK residents. Now, unfortunately, these solutions are not available to everybody. So I've created a free eligibility checker, which will see if your situation is a good fit for any of these solutions. It's a 5-question multiple choice. It takes 30 seconds. So click the link in the description below and go do that now.